Welcome to August in Missouri. It's hot.
An extreme heat wave continues to bake the East Coast today.
Heat just returns.
It is hot and sweltering.
Across the country, a long-lasting summer heat wave.
This is 2 years ago.
The heat wave is forecast.
We're in it, and so is a lot of the country.
Yeah, so nothing new. Last year was very similar. So this year I'm going to learn from past mistakes and not sweat everywhere, and instead just go ahead and talk to you guys about the new tools that I have purchased since I started, and the things that I liked about them and what I don't like about them, and kind of give you a breakdown of what all I've invested in so far. And because I don't have an air-conditioned shop, because Mr. Cool refuses to sponsor me no matter how many times I email them, I didn't email them at all. That'd be rude. So before I start spitzing through my entire flannel shirt, let's get started. So the first tool I want to talk about is actually going to be the Wen track saw. This bad boy right here. As far as from what I can tell, dealing with this track saw, everything about it so far that I've learned has been wonderful. Now, I don't cut miters with this track saw. That is probably the couple areas that I wish that it was a little bit different, but we'll talk about that. The main thing this allows me to do is to cut down large sheets of plywood very accurately without really much setup. Because all I have to do is measure the points and then put the track on and then run the saw through. That's all I needed to do. It's always set to 90 degrees. The cut and finish with the blade that it has in there is actually fine, but you can replace it if you want to. I haven't found a need to. I get a little bit of chip out now, so I probably need to replace the blade because I've probably gone through about 20 sheets of plywood so far. This has so far been a workhorse. I did also get the 108-inch track, so I can actually do a full sheet of plywood from front to back, from side to side, from head to toe. I don't know. Whatever you might call that, I can do a full sheet. And I think it's wonderful. It's amazing. I would recommend anyone that's doing this kind of work in their shop and they don't have a lot of infeed with their table saw, get this saw. Two things I kind of wish it were different. One, I wish the miter on it was actually better. I'll try to show it, but it's very wonky as far as how it's done. It's not very accurate at all. There's no positive stops. So I wouldn't recommend doing it. In fact, you know what? I'm not going to use it because I just want to keep it at 90 degrees for my own sake. Sorry about that, everyone. Plenty of people talk about this, though. The other thing is I wish it was a brushless motor. The reason I say that is because the only way to get the brushless version of this saw is to get the cordless version, and I am not someone who wants to invest in the Wen battery setup. You might be able to just tell that I am a Makita guy, probably going to get the Makita track saw as well, but I just found no reason for it. So those are the two things that I kind of wish, based on my experiences and what I use it for, were different. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but my original drill actually broke on me, so I had to get different ones, and I actually went with the I forget what these are, CTX. So I got these CXT, or Compact Impact and Driver Combo. It came with both the impact and the driver, with batteries and a charger, and 99% of the time, these are fine. I say that, okay. Look, it does the job okay. They're not as powerful and they're much more quiet. So when I'm installing things inside of someone's house, which I have taken these over to my sibling's house, for instance, to install things, these are amazing. They're not loud, they're really quiet, and that's great. Like I'll even just, that's very quiet. This here, again, very quiet compared to, let me show you my big one. Loud. So let's talk about some experiences where these weren't enough. One, when I was doing this bench that I have here, I was putting that together. I was using this impact and this drill both to try to do it. It could not get things into the hardwood by creating new holes. That was a problem. I had to use my big impact, and unfortunately it's a lot more clunky, but that stinks. So the power on these is a lot less than what I would have hoped they would be. And that's really unfortunate. I was able to drill out, however, with softwoods. When I was installing some shelves, I was able to use this, and it did get bogged down while drilling things out. But because houses are made of softwood with pine, it was able to get through it. Any hardwood, this seizes up. In fact, I actually had birch plywood, and I'll show some unedited, just a 1/2 inch. This literally couldn't drill through a 1/2 inch sheet of plywood. The bit was fine. Like, I'd never used the bit before. It was perfectly new bit. Could not get through a 1/2 inch sheet of plywood. I don't know. So, like, would I recommend these? Yeah, I would recommend these if you're installing things and you don't have to do anything with hardwood. If you're doing a lot more intense activities, obviously these compact ones are not going to be enough. I would recommend the LXT or the one above that. That's the more expensive than these, the 20-volt batteries. Those are the ones that I would recommend. These Japanese pull saws. This is obviously a flush trim saw. You have hardwood, softwood. Right? Yeah, softwood. This is amazing. I've used this a lot to cut down individual areas that just needed to be flush trimmed. This saw is perfect for that. Would recommend. The next one, this is just your regular Japanese pull saw. You obviously saw me cutting a PVC pipe with it in my last video. This is a workhorse. I've also used it off camera to cut and resaw boards. I literally, these are the two, like if you were to get hand saws for everyday use, these are the two that I would recommend. I think this one was like $12. This one was around $25. Lovely saws. They just cut through everything that I put through them. These are amazing. Would recommend. They also make another one of these that's got two sides of it as well. That sounds like a great one as well. The reason why I went with one that didn't have an enclosed tap was because I did want to resaw manually if I needed to. So I just grabbed this one. I think if I were doing dovetails or more joinery work, I would probably get that saw, but this is perfect for what I need it for. It's great. If you've been woodworking or watching YouTube videos for probably more than 30 minutes, you know of this tool and you automatically want to get one. Craig pocket hole jig. This is amazing. It's a workhorse. Everything about it is wonderful. I will say having everything stuck to the bottom is a lifesaver. I did not go with the one with the additional wings. I just don't think that I would use it for the additional cost. You can always do that. But honestly, I just found it easier to put all of my all of my screws and all my other joinery pieces inside of this workbench, and it just works out. In fact, I don't even buy the Craig screws. I've bought these. They're actually a few dollars cheaper, and they work great. I would recommend this to any beginner woodworker as well as anyone that wants to do any DIY projects. I've had a few people from work actually ask about this. One person ended up borrowing this for a little bit to do some pieces that they needed to do. It's a wonderful tool. Would recommend it for everyone. The only thing is it's not as portable as sometimes you might want. So if you do want to bring the pocket hole jig to the piece itself, for instance, maybe the piece is too big, I would recommend getting a different one, possibly the one that pinches or just one that uses clamps. Would recommend those over that one for that instance, but that's the only time that I think that would actually matter. Another tool that is not often thought about but I think is amazing is these handy shims. Now you can make shims, you can use playing cards, you can do all sorts of things, but the ability to have just composite shims that are at a specific height, you know exactly what they are, it's incredible. I actually use these when installing my pantry. At the end of the day, this was just amazing. These are amazing to work with. I figured out what the size was. I just left them in there. They're good to go. Nothing's going to rot. They're going to be there until you take them out. They're amazing. Now, if you don't like that idea of like leaving them there, you can always take them out. I've seen Michael Alm before. He'll take a little piece of scrap and make that level to the floor and then screw that into the toe kick, for instance. That is one option because I also know that, in fact, he's the one that inspired me to get these to install cabinets, but I just left them in. If I was doing repeated work, I would probably have taken it out, but I'm not. So I've got tons of them left. I would recommend anyone buy a packet of these if you are doing anything that needs to be shimmed, just because of the ease of use. All right, last good review, one of these little edge trimmers. So if you're doing any type of edge banding, I would recommend getting one of these. It's so fast, it's quick, it's easy, it's simple. This costs $5. Why wouldn't you get one? You simply literally just squeeze it onto the edge banding and you run it down your piece, and the little blades inside just simply cut it. And these blades are able to be replaced as well. This is a no-brainer as far as a purchase. I would recommend anyone getting these. So if you're doing edge banding at all, let's say you just end up finding yourself buying, you've got your stuff and you buy some edge banding, get one of these. Trust me, just get one. Don't try to use a sharp knife. I mean, you can, but again, it's just so easy with this, and it makes your work go so much faster. $5 makes a world of a difference. I don't know, for some reason, us woodworkers, we have no problem spending, $50, $100, $200 on a tool, but $5, like sometimes we don't want to. Trust me, just spend the $5. Trust me.
Yeah.
So something else I've learned is that not all jigs are made the same. And I'll explain what that means by basically saying that there are some reputable brands out there that I think I'm going to start using from now on after what I've experienced. The first one is the milescraft cabinet mates. I was using these, if you saw my pantry video, to create holes for the shelves, for the adjustable shelves. And this has several problems with it. The first one being this drill bit. What happens is whenever you plunge it into the piece, which is wonderful, it goes in, but it does not do a good job of removing wood chips. They'll stay stuck in here. So when you go to actually drill back in, your drill bit is still extended. You take it out, put it back in the next hole, and it's still fully extended. Nothing has come out. And that means that you're getting inaccurate readings, especially because of this next part. These little plugs, this one and this one, are made of a composite material that is bendable. It's not very bendable, but it's enough to where it will eventually knock it off. So if you've got it plugged in here and you want that to stay still and it moves because your drill bit is fully extended and you don't get it exactly in the center because the wood chips didn't come out, it's going to end up shifting this plate, which means that your holes become off center, which kind of ruins the entire point of the jig. I would recommend, if you are using this to create, they've got like 5mm and 1/4 inch. I would recommend getting pieces of metal and having metal plugs instead, because those aren't going to bend as easily as these composite ones. And again, a lot of the problem comes from this drill bit itself, with the inability of it to actually remove wood chips from it. It's just, I don't know what it is, but it's just not working. And I don't know if I have a defective one or not, but I can tell you something. I've looked to review. milescraft hasn't contacted me about it at all. I let them know how unhappy I was with it. If I could return this, I would. Unfortunately, whenever I buy tools, generally speaking, they sit around for a while until that point is expired. I'm able to use them. That's just because I have to plan all my builds. So I'm really upset with myself about buying this. Other than that, everything has been fine. Again, the holes are fine. It does a good job as far as like lining them up. But again, when you're off by, I don't know, a 1/16 of an inch, a 32nd of an inch, and then that happens 4 times in a row, that compounds, which led to, unfortunately, my holes being off by about almost 1/8 of an inch at one point in time. And there's just nothing that I can do to fix that, because I didn't realize it, because I thought it was fine. But the jig was actually shifting on me, and when I went back to review the footage, that's what it showed. So I would not recommend this milescraft cabinet mate jig. It's very disappointing.
Yeah.
milescraft Euro hinge jig, sorry. milescraft Euro hinge jig. I want to start by saying the jig itself is very accurate and useful. I think that the jig itself is great. The areas lined up very well. Everything was fine with this. It's great. In a lot of ways, this has a lot more accessibility than the Craig version does, specifically with this plate that you can put on the edge. The Craig version didn't have a good version of that was self-contained. milescraft does. But the only area and one of the biggest issues with this that falls short is the drill bit, the Forstner bit. It sat there and burned itself into the wood. It created a lot of sawdust, not shavings. And when you have a Forstner bit, you don't want sawdust. You want shavings because it's going in. It took me 5 minutes. 5 minutes to do one hole with this. I don't, it refused to go into the hole. I had to rock it back and forth constantly. I had to take it out of the jig in order to use it. Honestly, I'm so upset thinking about this jig again that I don't ever want to buy it. I would not recommend anyone use this Forstner bit. If you're able to go ahead and swap this out, I would recommend doing so. The problem is that these jigs, they have it set up to where the Forstner bit is ready to go with this jig, so you might have some issues. Honestly, at that point in time, what you might do is simply just use the jig to mark it and then use another Forstner bit to drill it out. The small drill bit, the little, I think it's like 1/16 of an inch drill bit, was absolutely fine and great. This Forstner bit ruined this entire jig for me almost. Again, the jig itself is great. This Forstner bit, do not use it. You're gonna end up driving yourself mad. Whatever you do, it's just gonna drive you nuts.
Yeah.
All right, my last one, and this is an amazing positive review as the other ones were, KM Tools or JCats Moses apron. So I don't know if any of you guys saw it. It's not a very popular video. I'll post a picture of it or a video of it. I actually got some kickback when I was first learning how to use the table saw, and it got me, and I didn't get impaled, but it actually went through not only my jacket, I had a jacket on, but also through my t-shirt into my skin. And it didn't, like I said, impale me, but it got very close. I immediately stopped and was like, I can't do this. I have to get an apron of some sort. And I luckily haven't had any issues yet, but this is an amazing apron. It was also very affordable. I think it was like $30 for the apron. I think I actually had it on sale. Would recommend this apron to anyone that does want to do woodworking. In fact, I would argue that if you are doing woodworking, you're learning as a hobby, you need to have one of these to protect yourself. And while we're on the topic of safety, respirators, I wear this whenever I'm sanding. I wear this whenever I'm doing finishes. I also have, obviously, this is the one I've been using recently because I had to finish something, but I also have the other filters on it. These are vital. Obviously, I do have a beard. This has a double strap on it to pull it tight against my face. It's not 100% effective, and I'm not going to ever trim my beard. I should get one of those face shields. I am aware, but this is obviously better than nothing, and just wearing it makes me feel so much safer. And I do feel the air pulled in and out of these filters. I can tell a difference, and I can tell you that it also makes my wife feel safer knowing that I'm protecting myself. So safety in the shop, get one of these as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I know this is not the normal video that I usually put out, but I really thank you guys for at least hanging in there with me and doing all that. Please leave a comment down below and tell me what tools you think that I should invest in. I am actually very interested to know. Another thing that I want to say is if you haven't subscribed already to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you would do so. If you're made it this far, obviously you like something about it. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it, and that like button as well to let me know that you guys do like it. So that way you guys can keep getting more and more of the content that I am going to be putting out, because this isn't going to stop anytime soon. I would really appreciate it. We got lots of builds coming up. We have some stuff for the fall. Of course, the holiday season is coming up, so I got to start planning for that. And I'm going to bring you guys all along with me so you guys can see what I am doing and what I'm excited about as well. So I am starting to put up Patreon exclusive videos, and my next one will be about this. Now, I'm not talking about this particular pencil. I'm talking about something else about the pencil, but you don't know what that is unless you subscribe to my Patreon. I put up videos early for you guys so you guys can see them. I try to do about a week ahead of time. It usually ends up being about 3 or 4 days, so I do apologize. I am going to work on getting better about that. I am getting faster with editing, more proficient, but I'm also changing my editing style, so please be patient with me. You guys will also be able to get better access to me. I answer questions there if anyone has them. I'm trying to basically make a community where we work on creating custom solutions for all of our problems using woodworking and maker abilities that we have, so we can share that. Obviously, not everyone can do that. My friend Matt Kelso was one of my first subscribers on Patreon. He's been supporting me ever since day one, so I always do appreciate Matt, and I tell him almost every time I see him that I appreciate him. But again, If you can't do it, that's absolutely fine. If you guys want to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave comments, just talk to me. I answer all the questions inside of my comments. I have my Instagram DMs as well open, so that way if you guys ever want to ask me questions, and I do try to answer those, in a timely manner. I'm obviously human. I have a day job, so not everything can be done. I will also post more on there from now on as far as my reels and my stories, so that way you guys can see what I'm doing in the shop or around. Y'all can just learn more about me as well. So those are the areas where you guys can contact me and support me, and I really appreciate all that you guys have done for me so far. The channel is doing so far about as what I expected. I'm hopeful that maybe next year we'll be able to get to 1,000 subscribers, so I'm gonna keep pushing for that. I do have some projects coming up. Again, as I've stated last video, we have a sponsored video next month. I'm very excited about that, my first sponsor. So I'd love to be able to tell you about that. If you subscribe to my Patreon, you'll know what that sponsor is. That's just a little teaser, but we're doing something on my kitchen. Excited for you guys to see that. I don't know how it's gonna turn out. I actually haven't got everything planned out, but I think overall it's gonna be a good time, and hopefully we can all learn and enjoy that experience together. So thank you again for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'm gonna leave you off with a video of my cat being cute.
Hit that Claudette when I first saw when I crossed over to the thing.